What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Time. I am your host, Jacob Cutler, the Fantasy Guy, and today I have episode number 20 for you. Yes, we have made it. Episode number 20. We are here, and I am back to bring you the goods on stardom, sit 'em, and get rid of them. And then, of course, the injury report. Yes, we're going to get into those two things. We're just going to jump right in. I don't got any first segment for you guys. We're just going to get right into the meat and potatoes of the Tuesday video, and we're going to talk about it. We will break it all down. Last week was a good week. Last week we had an exciting week in the NFL, right? We saw 3 overtime games, the Sunday night thriller, the Monday night thriller. Heck, even the Thursday night game was good between the Bucs and the Eagles. So we saw some good games last week. Lamar overtaking Justin Herbert in the MVP conversation. I think so. And remember, if you missed last week's episode, we went over the current MVP leaders, or my current MVP leaders. They are updated on the Google Sheets, and we will get back to that in week, I think 11 or 12. We'll revisit it then around week 11 or 12. So that's when we'll get back into the current MVP leaders. But for now, we're just going to stick to start them, sit them, and get rid of them, and the injury report. If you guys like what you're watching, please smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and then just tap on that bell notification. That way, anytime a new video drops, and they're dropping every Tuesday and Friday, you're right there. You're right there to consume the knowledge, because that's what we're doing. We're always dropping the knowledge, right? It's just right there for you to pick up, shove it in that head of yours, shake it around, and boom, better fantasy player, better football human being, right? Because if you're not growing, you are dying. That is what we like to say here at Fantasy Time. So let's just get into it. So we're getting into it in another installment of Stardom, Sit 'em, or Get Rid of them. Alrighty, looking at last week. Pretty much kind of the same from the week before, right? 10 out of 16. Some highlights, right? We got Matty Stafford dominating the Giants. We hit on Joey B, right? We hit on Kirk. We hit on Darrell Henderson. Basically, if you were on the Rams, you were having a good game, right? Darrell Henderson, we got Jonathan Taylor going off. It looks like he has arrived. So if you have him, he better be in your starting lineup going forward, barring any injury, right? Diontae Johnson going off for the Steelers in that thriller on Sunday night. Emmanuel Sanders on Monday coming in clutch like always, right? Mike Gesicki, who seems like one of the most, just the clutchest and most consistent tight ends this season, right? From the Dolphins. And then we had Mark Andrews, right? Mark Andrews seems to get it rolling. It seems like Lamar is developing as the pocket passer that we want him to develop into. So Mark Andrews is your last highlight from last week. 10 for 16. Not bad. Sit-ems 8 for 16. You know, last week was weird, right? A lot of the teams that I would tell you guys to sit, right? They were off, right? So they were already sitting, and I couldn't just be like, well, all the teams were just sitting, right? I had to take some risks. Right? So I did hit on some of them, but the other ones, we all saw what happened last week. I will say this. Never doubt Jalen Hurts. Never doubt Jalen Hurts this season in fantasy. The man looks like a fantasy point producer. Holy moly. And then in the get rid of them, 6 for 8. Basically, I'm telling you guys, if I'm telling you guys to get rid of them, get rid of them. Get them off your team. Don't worry about them. You do not need them at all, right? Let's flip the page, right? We're going to flip the page to this week. We're going to focus on week number 7 of the NFL. And for those of you who are new to the videos, right? Basically how this works is this is my iteration of stardom, sit 'em, and then I added get rid of them, right? Where basically I have 4 quarterbacks for you, 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and 4 tight ends. And each of those categories, except I guess for the get rid of them categories, where it's kind of like a flex category. So if I feel like players need to go in that category, if I feel like their roster percentage is too high and they're not doing anything, and that's where I'm going to put them in that category. So sometimes I will have, a complete set for you and get rid of them, which I do not think is going to ever happen. It may, but I do not think so. Most of the time it's going to be, 6 or 7, 8 players who I think you just need to get off your team. This week, for instance, let's see, we have 9 players this week for get rid of them. So we will get into that. What we always do is start with the stardoms, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the starting quarterbacks. So let's get into this. Number 4 is Sam Darnold. Yes, you guys, if you guys have been watching the entire Stardom Sit Get Rid of Him, my entire video so far, you will know that I am very high on the Carolina Panthers. And it's because I believe in them, right? I believe that they are a good team, but it's just hard to show it when you have so many injuries, right? And they put up a graphic, right? It showed first 3 weeks of the season, 0 interceptions for Sam, right? Because he had Christian McCaffrey. Because Christian McCaffrey's gone, he's had 7 interceptions since. So you can see that Christian McCaffrey basically is the pulse of that team. He is the boat that stirs that ship in the right direction. So without Christian McCaffrey, I don't really know about the Carolina Panthers. However, they're playing the New York Giants, folks. They're playing the New York Giants. So if you need a quarterback, I am predicting a big fantasy game here for Sam Darnold and some of those receivers. So Sam Darnold is your number 4. Your number 3, and the guy I didn't even realize returned, and he had a great game in his first game back, all the way in good old London, is Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, he had a great game against Jacksonville. Now I know, it is Jacksonville, so I won't give him too much credit, but he's playing Atlanta. Yes, he's playing Atlanta in this game. So this is another good game to have him bounce back to. He had Jalen Waddle firing on all cylinders, right? Mike Gesicki firing on all cylinders. Let's see if he can just get that team, that team, and going in the right direction, because there were a lot of expectations on the Miami Dolphins coming into this season. A lot of expectations, and they are not living up to any of them. So Tua Tagovailoa is your 3rd starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, taking on the Falcons. Your number 2, and like I said, I'm never going to down him again, is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a fantasy point machine. A fantasy point machine. He hasn't put anything less than 20 points up the entire season. He against teams that you would think that he's going to get absolutely thrashed, he somehow squeaks out these 20-point games. So if you haven't caught on to this, or if you're just QB spoiled, right? If you have all the QBs in your league, right? Jalen Hurts, either trade him for some good value or start him, because Jalen Hurts is playing on fire. And even if the Las Vegas defense is playing good, Jalen Hurts is going to find a way to get his points. He's proven that time in and time out. So Jalen Hurts looking really good this year. I like it. You're number 1. And I promise you, it's not biased. It's just, come on, dude. The kid is playing phenomenal. Is Joey Burrows, right? Joey Burrow from the Bengals taking on the Ravens. The Ravens defense looked really good against Justin Herbert. However, Joe Burrow has thrown multiple touchdowns in every single game this season. I think it continues. That Bengal team is exciting. Me being a fan or no fan, I would still be excited to watch that team. What they have going on down there, they are a fun team to watch. And I think he just has a big game. He is in Baltimore. So this is where I love it, right? We're going to see these tests here. We're going to see these tests for him. I think he has a big game. I think this game is back and forth. I think this is the game where we thought the Chargers and Ravens game were going to be, where it's going to be high scoring back and forth the entire way through. I think this is the game where it's back and forth the entire way through. So Joey Burrow is your number 1 starting quarterback. Moving, before I even move on, right? I forgot. This week, I've added some honorable mentions, because I was going through, and I was like, dude, there's so many people that I want to add to this list, right? There's so many people that are worth starting this week. So I've added an honorable mentions this week, and we got one honorable mention for the quarterbacks, and that is Mr. Derek Carr. It truly looks like John may have been the problem, because that Raider team was an inspired Raider team. That team came to play. That team was hungry. So Derek Carr back, righting his ship, getting back on track after 2 very, very tough weeks in fantasy and 2 very tough weeks in the NFL. But Derek Carr back on track. So he's an honorable mention this week for stardom. So if you got him or if you don't got him and you need a quarterback, he might be worth a start against Philly. That could be a very, very high fantasy scoring game, right? That could be a very high fantasy scoring game. Now let's move on to the running backs. We got your number 4 running back is Darrell Williams of Kansas City. Now, this is going to be an interesting game because of this game that Tennessee just won. It could propel them into getting them to the season that we all thought they were going to have, right? They could stop going from the disappointing Tennessee Titans to the, oh, here they are. This is the Tennessee Titans that we were looking for. But Darrell Williams, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on the IR and he's going to be out for a while, he is stepping into that lead back role. He's getting a lot of touches, and quite honestly, I like the way he produces. He seems much more productive than Clyde. So I like Darrell Williams here against Tennessee. It's going to be a good game. It is going to be a very, very, very good game. And I think Darrell Williams has plenty of runs, plenty of touches, and I think he scores a couple touchdowns here. My next guy, number 3, is Damien Harris. Yeah, Damien Harris has actually been on my sits for some of these weeks, but Damien Harris has now moved to the Stardoms. Yes, Damien Harris has moved to the Stardoms, taken on the New York Jets. And that's why he's taken on the New York Jets, right? The New York Jets are terrible. They are abysmal. They are horrible. So I think Mac goes 2-0 against the New York Jets and just dominates them. So I think Damien Harris has a big game in that backfield, taking over as the lead back there in New England. Number two is Josh Jacobs. Again, I think John was holding these guys back. I mean, what I saw last week, I haven't seen the entire season. None of us have seen the entire season. You know what I'm saying? None of us have seen what the Raiders produced on Sunday. We haven't seen that all season long. So, Josh Jacobs, I'm feeling right in that wave of momentum into a home game against Philadelphia. Josh Jacobs, your number 2 starting running back. Your number 1 and another guy that has been on my sit-ems a lot, but it's because of the team he's playing. We got Chase Edmonds. Yes, Chase Edmonds is my number 1 starting running back. It's because he's playing the Houston Dumpster Fire Texans. Yes, the Arizona Cardinals dismantled the Cleveland Browns. Dismantled them. I think they're going to dismantle Houston. I think they're absolutely going to obliterate this team. So Chase Edmonds, who is your more pass catcher, your receiving back, I think he gets a lot more touches, a lot more catches, a lot more receiving yards, and some touchdowns. Your number 1 running back. And the honorable mentions. We got 3 for you. We got 3. Number 1 is going to be Kenyon Drake from the Raiders. Again, John holding all these guys back. If you need a running back, Kenyon Drake went off last week, and they actually know how to utilize him now. They're actually utilizing him for the purpose that they got him for. So Kenyon Drake, another stardom this week against Philadelphia. Eli Mitchell on the Niners, taking on the Colts, who's going to be the lead back. He's going to take all the touches. He's a good back. He is a good back. So Eli Mitchell, if you need a running back. And then he was on the sit-ems, right? Granted, I had to pick him up because I had no choice. Thank God I did, because he actually did good. But Alex Collins against New Orleans. Alex Collins is a decent back, right? And he's going to get a lot of touches there in Seattle. So I think Alex Collins, while Chris Carson is on the IR, is your number 1 honorable mention. So Kenyon Drake, Eli Mitchell, and Alex Collins. Moving on to your wide receivers. All right, your number 4 wide receiver is Antonio Brown. Yes, if you guys have been following along, I've been talking up Antonio Brown for the last 3 weeks since Gronk has been injured. He is Brady's favorite target. How many times do I need to say it? Antonio Brown is Brady's favorite target next to Rob Gronkowski. So he is benefiting from Rob being out. Take advantage of him and put him in your lineup so you can just dominate with all these points that he's scoring. Antonio Brown, your number 4. Your number 3 is DJ Moore from Carolina. Yes, I think he has a bounce back game. I think he has a big game this week. He had a slow game last week. Wasn't the biggest game. Had some drops and things like that. But against the New York Giants, I think the Carolina Panthers get back on track. I think this is the perfect team to get their season right back on track. Get back to 4-3. They go 3-4. It's not looking good. and especially against the Giants. So DJ Moore, your number 3 wide receiver. I think he has a big game against the Giants. And your number 2, and this is because he has his quarterback back, and it actually seems like their connection is there, right? Is Jalen Waddle, right? He had 10 receptions last week. He was going off against Jacksonville. And he's got Atlanta, who is not that good. So Jalen Waddle, I think, has another massive game on Sunday. And if you have Jalen Waddle, I think now is the time to put him in. Now that Tua is back and looks healthy and is able to distribute the ball, I think Jalen Waddle has now finally garnered the start. So start him against Atlanta this week. And your number 1, and I like that I can do this, I really like that I can do this, is Cordarrelle Patterson. But you may be asking, but wait, I thought he was in your running backs last week. Yeah. If you look at his little position, he can be wide receiver or running back. You have a designated flex in your lineup, my friend. You can put him wherever you want. So we're going to put him in the wide receivers. They are taking on Miami. Miami is abysmal this year. Miami is atrocious this year, especially that defense, which is so shocking because that defense looks so good. But Cordarrelle Patterson, I think, continues to have a solid season in the backfield and then lined up outside on the slot or on the outside. But Cordarrelle Patterson is your number 1 wide receiver this week. And the honorable mentions for the wide receivers, right? This time I have 4. I got 4 for you this time. So number 4, I guess, is Marquez Callaway. I've been debating on when the right time to give him the start is. I'm going to give it to him against the Seahawks, whose defense is dead last and they just suck. Right? They're garbage. I think Marquez Callaway has a monster game on Monday night. Number 2 or 3 is T.Y. Hilton, the man who is back. And I'm sure Carson is thanking his lucky stars, right? T.Y. Hilton is your number 3. Your number 2 is Devontae Smith. Again, this game has implications to be a massively high-scoring fantasy game. So Devontae Smith is your number 2. And your number 1 is Henry Ruggs. Yes, again, I think John was holding all of these guys back. I mean, this offense looked complete last week. So, Henry Ruggs against the Eagles. Again, it's going to be a high fantasy scoring game. I'm calling it now. So, get on board, get him in your lineup, and start him. Moving on to your tight ends. We got your number 4 tight end is Dallas Goedert, right? Dallas Goedert is your number 4 tight end. Now, I will preference this. He is on the COVID list, okay? He is on the COVID list. He was on the COVID list last week, right? That's what kept him out on Thursday, I believe. Yes, he was out on Thursday. So, Dallas Goedert may be returning, but if he is returning, he is a stardom because Zach Ertz is gone. He's in Arizona now. So, Dallas Goedert is the only tight end in Philadelphia. Big plus. Big plus for Dallas Goedert owners right there. You should be thanking your lucky stars, especially since Jalen Hurts knows how to produce fantasy points. So, Dallas Goedert, your number 4, if he is cleared from COVID, okay? You will see him later. But Dallas Goedert, your number 4. Number 3, and the man who finally had a big game, is Noah Fant, right? Noah Fant is your number 3 tight end. I think I'm looking at these tight ends. I can't really find too many to start. He had a good game last week. Teddy finally was able to get him the ball. I think he has a good game this week, right? So he's taken on the Cleveland defense that has been exposed these last 2 weeks, right? Now, I'm not saying that, the Denver Broncos are the Cardinals and the Chargers, because they're definitely not. But Noah Fant, I think, gets his yards, gets his receptions, and gets his touchdown. Your number 2 is Hunter Henry. Yes, I told you guys that Mac Jones was going to pick one of these tight ends. I thought it was Jonnu Smith there first. It is Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is Mac Jones' guy. Catching touchdowns in the last, I think, 2 or 3 games now. Pretty consistent, right? Getting the ball rolling, getting yards, getting receptions, getting catches. So he is getting the ball down the field. Hunter Henry is a solid option for Mac Jones and for you to start. And your number 1, and finally, we didn't even get to talk about it, but finally we saw it 2 weeks ago. His breakout game, his welcome to the NFL game. It is Kyle Pitts. I think finally we are going to see Kyle Pitts emerge as one of the top tight ends that we all thought he was going to be. He's taken on Miami. Perfect team to come out of the bye and absolutely just obliterate them. So as you can see, I had a lot of people in this game because, again, this and the Raider game, I think is going to be a high fantasy scoring game. So if you got people in this game, I think that they're worth the start. And that is all I got for you on the startums. Alrighty, moving on to the sit-ems, right? Starting with the quarterbacks. Let's do it. Your number 4 quarterback is the guy that all of you in the first couple weeks saw that he was on this list every single time because he was balling out. Now it looks like he's come back to earth, right? It looks like we're kind of seeing what the quarterback he's going to be, especially with this Washington team that's struggling. Oops, I gave it away. It is Taylor Heinicke. Yes, Taylor Heinicke is my number 4 sit-em quarterback this week. Not having good weeks, not having last 2 good weeks, and now he's taking on Green Bay, looks like they got it all together now. The defense is looking good, the offense is looking good. So Taylor Heinicke against Green Bay. If you got him, which not that many people do, but if you got him, would not recommend to start. Sit him on the bench. Your number 3 is, and the man who visually looks like he's having a good game, fantasy-wise, not having good games, is Carson Wentz. Yes, I believe he's on my drop-ems a couple weeks ago, right? Get rid of him. But Carson Wentz is a sit-em against San Francisco. That San Francisco defense is undercover good. They are undercover good. People do not, they underestimate that defense. I'm telling you. So Carson Wentz against that San Francisco defense on Sunday night is a sit-em. Your next guy up, and the guy who has a short week this week and whose arm is in a sling, we'll talk about that, is Baker Mayfield taking on Denver. He's at home, so that plays a part, but he's injured, right? He partially hurt his torn labrum again, so that's already going to be bothering him. It's a short week, so he doesn't have time to recover. I mean, by the time this video drops, in 2 days, in 48 hours, he's going to be playing, right? He's going to be on the field playing. So Baker Mayfield, definitely not garnered a start. He had a rough week last week, and I think he's going to have a rough week this week in Ohio, in Cleveland, just because of his arm, right? He's injured. And my number 1, and just stay away from this game, is Teddy Bridgewater, right? If you got to start Teddy, find somebody else to start. I don't think he's going to have... He had a decent game against the Raiders, but... It's the Raiders' defense. Their corners are all hurt, right? Cleveland at least has a somewhat healthy defense. It's just their offense that is massively hurt, right? The no running backs. Odell is hurt, right? At least Jarvis Landry might be set to return. But right now, Teddy Bridgewater and Baker Mayfield, those 2 guys, I would just put on the bench. Start them another week, right? Or just don't start them at all, right? But Teddy Bridgewater against that Cleveland defense, I don't know. I think he might sneak a couple in there with Noah Fant, right, and get like 15, 16 points. But do I think he's going to get over 20 against that Cleveland defense? No. So we're hoping for a couple touchdowns to Noah Fant, but I don't think he's going to get up. I don't think it's going to be a massive game on Thursday night in Ohio. Moving on to the running backs, right? Your number 4 running back is Kenneth Gainwell from the Eagles. The Eagles have a atrocious running game. It's bad. It is not good. It is ugly. Okay? It is not good. They can't get any traction with any of their running backs. And I think Nick Sirianni just doesn't like them. That's why he just doesn't give them the ball. He just wants to find a reason to get them off the team, right? Because Kenneth Gainwell is having a good couple games, but last week, real stinker. And against Vegas and that defense, I don't see it. I see Jalen Hurts going off. I don't see Kenneth Gainwell or Miles Sanders, who we may hear, going off at all. Your number 3 is Michael Carter from the Jets. He was one of my sleepers. He's having some good games, but he's taking on that New England defense, and that New England defense played Dallas tough. They made him earn every single yard that they had against them, right? So Michael Carter for the Jets, I don't see it against New England. I just don't see it. So Michael Carter, if you got him, sit him. Don't start him. Your number 2 is Jamal Williams from the Lions, right? They keep saying, oh yeah, it's the Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift show. It's the DeAndre Swift show, right? It's not the Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift show. It's just DeAndre Swift who's going off. Jamal Williams is not doing anything close to garnering a start this week or any week in fantasy. He's taking on the Rams. It's going to be a rough week. It is going to be a rough week. And your last one, your number one, is Melvin Gordon, who just is an absolute shell of himself. A shell of himself. You know, you'd think that he would go there, be able to express himself, and just grow and become the lead back. There's a reason why the Chargers got rid of you, bro. You haven't done nothing this season. Nothing, right? So, and against that Cleveland defense, I don't see you doing anything, right? The rookie's outplaying you. Javonte Williams is outplaying you. So, Melvin Gordon is your number one sit-em running back. Moving on to your wide receivers, right? Your wide receivers, your number 4 is Terry McLaurin. Yes. Terry was a first-round pick for a lot of people, but he's only produced 2 good games this season. 2 games of over 20 points. Other than that, they have been crap. They have been absolute crap. He's taken on that Green Bay defense. I'm hoping I'm wrong here because I have him in a lot of my leagues. But against that Green Bay defense, I think he's shut down again. I think he's in for another 6-point, 7, 8-point game. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I hope I'm wrong because I have him. This one I wouldn't mind being wrong, but Terry McLaurin is your sit-em number 4 just because he's having a rough season without having a viable quarterback back there in the backfield. Your number 3 is Corey Davis, right? The game right before the bye, he has a big game, and then all these other games he does nothing, right? So Corey Davis coming out the bye against New England, who is tough to play. If he wasn't playing New England, maybe he wouldn't be on this list, but he's taking on New England, who's they're a pretty good defense. They're not that great of a team, but it's a pretty good defense. So Corey Davis is your number 3 wide receiver. Your number 2 wide receiver is Brandon Cooks, right? Brandon Cooks from the Texans, taking on that scary Cardinal defense. I think it's a long afternoon for Brandon Cooks and the Houston Dumpster Fire Texans. I think the Arizona Cardinals absolutely go to town on these guys. Go to town. They may, maybe one of those games where they score, 24 points and things like that. But at the same time, Arizona's probably going to score like 42, 45 around there. So Houston Dumpster Fire Texans, Brandon Cooks, sit them all, put them on the bench. Your number 1 is the man who doesn't know how to shut his freaking mouth and acts like what he puts in his mouth, which is a binky. Yes, you know who it is. It's DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf needs to learn some history, needs to learn some respect, and needs to quit acting like a little freaking child. Take that stupid pacifier out of your mouth, you freaking human baby. What the hell is the matter with you? What the hell is the matter with you, bro? You are a freaking joke. You are a joke. And I hope you see this, and I don't care if you don't care who I am or know who I am. You are a freaking joke, my friend, for what you said to Shannon Sharp. You are a joke. Get the binky out of your mouth, you freaking child. Get out of here. DK Metcalf against a very good New Orleans Saints defense without a quarterback is nothing. Nothing. So DK Metcalf, put his ass on the bench, little crybaby. Moving on to the next guy. Whew! That just got me fired up right there. Moving on to the tight ends. We got your number 4 tight end is T.J. Hawkinson. Yes, he's having a good season. TJ's having a good season. I love what Dan Campbell said about Jared Goff. Because you could tell he wanted to let loose. He wanted to let loose his entire feelings about how he felt about Jared Goff. He kept it professional and just said Jared needs to play better. He needs to step it up. It's true, because T.J. Hawkinson is a solid tight end. He's a good tight end, right? You give him Matt Stafford, I guarantee you T.J. Hawkinson is easily top 4 tight ends this season. So T.J. Hawkinson with Jared Goff against the Rams, I don't like it. That is a mixture for bad news. So, T.J. Hawkinson on the bench. Another tight end in that game on the other team. Your number 3 is Tyler Higbee. Yes, I think everybody else is going to be scoring. I think Cooper Kupp's going to be scoring. Robert Woods, Darrell Henderson, right? I think Van Jefferson Jr. I think all these other guys are going to be scoring. I don't think Tyler Higbee, it is against Detroit. So, he may get in there. But he's not doing anything. He hasn't gotten more than 9 points this entire season. This entire season, fantasy-wise, he hasn't gotten more than 9 points. So, Tyler Higbee, plop him down. Your next guy up is Gerald Everett from Seattle. Yes, most Seattle players are now going to be on the sit-ems, except for their running backs, because that's where they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. Geno Smith, he can pass it sometimes, but you guys all saw his ball security. So Gerald Everett from the Seattle Seahawks. I think he has a rough game against New Orleans on Monday night. I think he has a rough game. They are at home. Seattle does not play well at home, and I don't think they're going to start playing well at home. I might have to go with Jameis in this one. I might have to go with Jameis in this game, but Gerald Everett, your number 2 tight end. Your number 1 tight end is, and he has actually been a solid backup since Logan Thomas went out. Oops, spilled it again. Ricky Seals-Jones Jr., right? That's a mouthful, right? Ricky Seals-Jones Jr., or Ricky Seals-Jones, not Junior. There's no Junior. What am I? These are blue light glasses, so maybe I need to get real glasses. Good Lord. Ricky Seals-Jones. Maybe I was thinking about Roy Jones Jr. Ricky Seals-Jones, your number 1 sit-em tight end this week against Green Bay. Now, if you need a tight end, go out and get this guy because he has been extremely viable the last couple weeks. Since Logan Thomas went on IR, he has actually gone out and gotten points, valuable points that you need in that tight end position. So, just not this week, but if you need a tight end and he's available in a lot of leagues, Ricky Seals-Jones, go out and get him. Go out and get him. Former Cardinal, former Brown, former everything, right? I feel like this guy's been on a ton of teams. Now with the Washington football team, solid backup. If you need a tight end, very, very viable option. Just not going to rock with him this week. Your number 1 tight end in the sit-ems. And finally, we got the get rid of them, right? Just get them off your team. Get them out of here. They don't deserve a roster spot. These guys are rostered in too many leagues, which means too many of you guys are giving these guys too many chances. Get them off your team. They are sucking up roster spots. I'm telling you. Number 1 is Sony Michel from the Rams. This man has done jack diddly squat nothing since he's been traded over there, right? Darrell Henderson is the guy there. Even when Darrell Henderson was hurt, Sony Michel didn't do anything, right? So, Sony Michel is your number 4. Get rid of him. Get him off your team. Rostered in too many leagues, right? Your number 3 is Nyheim Hines, right? Some people are like, oh, well, maybe he could have. No. Get him off your team. Dude has done nothing this entire season. Get him off your team. He's not going to do anything against San Francisco. He's not going to do anything this season. Jonathan Taylor is the running back for the Colts. Nyheim Hines might have one game where he scores, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Cool. Not worth it. Get him off your team. Your number 2 is Mike Davis from the Falcons. Cordero Patterson is now the lead running back there. A man who is traditionally a wide receiver has taken over the job for someone who is a traditional running back. Go figure. Mike Davis, you failed, bro. You failed. There was nobody there, dude. It was your team. You had the keys to the Lamborghini, and you couldn't even get it off the lot, bro. You couldn't even start the car. So Cordero Patterson has taken over Mike Davis's job as that lead running back in Atlanta. So Mike Davis, get him off your team. Roster spot waster, time waster, get him out of here. Your number 1 is the guy that Nick Sirianni just despises, it looks like, right? Chip Kelly and LaShawn McCoy, that was nothing. Nothing compared to Nick Sirianni and Miles Sanders, right? Miles Sanders, who only got, I think, 1 touch or like 6 touches the entire game on Thursday, and it was a 1-possession game. They're not even running the ball, right? They're using Jalen Hurts to run the ball. Miles Sanders taking up a roster spot. Nick Sirianni doesn't like him. Don't imagine he will be on the team next season. So, Miles Sanders, get him off your team, sucking up a roster spot. Just give up hope. He's not going to be good. You're moving on to your wide receivers. We only have 1 wide receiver this week, and that is Elijah Moore. Not rostered in many leagues, but if you have him, he's not doing anything, right? Corey Davis is the main guy who's getting receptions and stuff like that, and he's not even getting that many receptions and things like that. So, Elijah Moore, if you got him, rookie for the Jets, get him off your team. And you're moving on to your tight ends. I got 4 tight ends for you. Your number 4 tight end is Cameron Brate. Yes, I know everybody rushed to the waiver wire because they're like, oh, Gronk's out. Let me get Cameron Brate. Yes, I got him. I got Cameron. Newsflash, Cameron Brate hasn't done for the last 3 years. He hasn't done anything since 2018. So, I don't know who you think you is, or you are, because you don't know nada. Antonio Brown is Cameron Brate. Get Cameron Brate off your team, does nothing. Your number 3, and this, I thought it was going to be him. It looks like it's the other guy. Jonnu Smith, get him off your team, taking up a roster spot for the tight ends. Not doing anything of value for the New England Patriots and for you in that tight end spot. Get him off. The last guy, number 2, not the last guy. Number 2 is Evan Ingram from the Giants. The Giants are a mess. The Giants are an absolute mess right now. Evan Ingram has the potential to be easily top 5 tight ends because of his speed and just how big he is and just his body shape and everything like that. He is not being utilized to his fullest potential. Not even 100% even close. Not even close to being utilized properly. So, Evan Ingram is your number 2. Get rid of him, tight end. Not doing anything this season. Your number 1 is the guy that for some reason everybody thought was like a top 5 tight end. Robert Tonyan. Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw it to this dude. He has plenty of... Aaron Rodgers is a wide receiver thrower. He's not a tight end thrower. He never has, never will be. He's always been a wide receiver quarterback, right? He loves throwing to wide receivers. So, Robert Tonyan, if you got him, it's time to find a new tight end, right? Ricky Seals-Jones is going to be available. I guarantee that. Ricky Seals-Jones is available. Not this week against Green Bay, right? You might have to just bite the bullet. But drop him and get Ricky for future weeks. The dude is putting up points. If you don't believe me, look at the point totals between the two. Just look at the game logs for one and the other, and you'll see that I'm telling the truth. But Robert Tonyan is your number 1. Your number 1. Get rid of him for the tight ends. And that is all I have for you guys this week on Start 'em, Sit 'em, or Get rid of them. Alrighty. Let's get into it because they are piling up. We got 15 new injuries this week to talk about. A lot of people going on IR, a couple of people going on the COVID list, and just a lot of people getting injured in general. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into it in another edition of the Injury Report. Alrighty, let's get into this. Like I said, we got 15 injuries on the clipboard this week. Whew! Oh man, that training room is gonna get filled up. That training room is getting filled up right now. So let's get into this. Number 1, leading us off, we got Latavius Murray from the Ravens. Right, he was forced out of the game on Sunday with an ankle injury. Considered day-to-day. Doesn't look too serious, but he was forced out of it. It was serious enough to force him out of that game on Sunday. So Devontae Freeman could take over. Now, this is another thing, right? If he is not able to go, it didn't look that serious, right? It doesn't seem that serious. But if he's not able to go, Devontae Freeman's value has shot up. For whatever reason, they're using Devontae Freeman over Le'Veon Bell. I don't know. I don't get it. But Latavius Murray, forced out of the game on Sunday with an ankle injury, considered day-to-day. The next guy up is Baker Mayfield, right? We talked about him, right? He was seen leaving the stadium in a sling on Sunday, right? He was seen leaving the stadium in a sling. He'll get an MRI on his arm. We will see how bad the damage is. I believe that MRI is scheduled for tomorrow, which is today, I guess. That's Tuesday. But he's considered day-to-day. He is looking to play in Week 7. I'm looking at Latavius Murray. Baker Mayfield says he wants to play in Week 7. So we'll see what the MRI says either tomorrow or Wednesday. This one's kind of like, I think he's more doubtful than questionable. But we'll see. If he's able to play, he'll play. That's no question there. The next guy up, and he seems like he'll be ready, but Dak Prescott, right, suffered a right calf injury. Didn't look too serious, but he was on the injury report. Should be ready to go for Week 7. So Dak Prescott owners, don't freak out too much. Don't freak out too much. The next guy up, and it was a guy who was on the startums last week, but was just forced out of the game, right? Antonio Gibson, forced out of the game with MRI shows on he has a shin injury, right? So he's going to have an MRI on his shin injury. From what I'm reading, owners need to prepare for an absence. That's how it was put online. Fantasy owners need to prepare for an absence. So if you have Antonio Gibson, chances are it sounds like he may be moving to IR here fairly shortly, or at least missing these next few weeks. Kidneys can't get healthy. That's unfortunate. Kidneys, honestly, that he probably should just take the rest of the year off. I know that sucks, and I know it's going to suck for some owners because he definitely has the potential to score points, but he's not healthy. And the only way he's going to get 100% healthy is if he takes the time off that he needs to get his body right? Same thing for another guy that we're going to see on here. Moving on to Paris Campbell from the Colts. He was forced out of the game on Sunday with a foot injury. He is considered day-to-day. We'll see. He's got plenty of time now with that extra little time because he's going to be on Sunday night. We'll see if he travels with the team when they do decide to head to San Francisco or Santa Clara. But Paris Campbell on the injury report, forced out of the game with a foot injury. Next guy up is Devontae Parker, who does absolutely nothing, and Jalen Waddle owners should thank this guy for being out. Devontae Parker out with a shoulder and hamstring injury. He is considered week to week, so it may be the Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki show there for a while. Devontae Parker out, considered week to week. Next up is Kadarius Toney from the New York Giants, who looks like a phenomenal rookie. Holy moly! In the games that he's been in, the games that we've seen him in, he looks phenomenal. But he can't stay healthy, right? So he was forced out of the game with an ankle injury. He had that great catch and then had the ankle injury and was gone, right? So he is considered day-to-day. It doesn't look too serious, but it was serious enough to force him out of the game. We shall see. You will have to, by Kadarius Toney owners, check on his status on Thursday, right? Make sure if he's good to go, get him in your lineup because he is actually producing he's producing some excitement, right? Producing some chatter. These next guys are all on IR, right? This is the IR section of the injury report. First up, we got Christian McCaffrey, who was moved to IR. With that hamstring injury, it just wasn't healed. He re-aggravated it. And, I mean, he's going to keep re-aggravating it until he fully heals it. He might need to consider taking a year off, right? Hamstrings, you don't want to mess around with. And especially the special talent that Christian McCaffrey is. I think he needs to take the time to get fully healthy before he comes back. But we'll see. Next up is Rodrigo Blankenship, placed on IR with a hip injury. We saw that weird where they were using two kickers, and that's what ultimately left the Ravens back into the game, was them not kicking that field goal and then missing the 2-point conversion. So Rodrigo Blankenship on IR for the Colts. If you have them, like myself, we got to find other kicking options. The next guy's up, and they're dropping like flies on this team. We got Kareem Hunt placed on the IR today with a calf injury, right? He left the game on Sunday with an injury. He was carted to the locker room even, so hopefully that's not too serious. Next guy is Nick Chubb. Who's going to run the ball there in Cleveland? Who is going to run the ball, right? Nick Chubb is on the IR with a calf injury, so he is out. Man. And just so happens that I have both of the guys on two different teams. Great. Next guy up is Chris Carson, right? We talked about a little bit about Alex Collins, right? Getting the carries there because Chris Carson is on IR. Chris Carson's on IR with a neck injury, so he won't be there for Seattle. And then the guy himself, right? Russell Wilson is on IR with that finger injury, so he's going to be out for a long time. So Seattle's season looks basically folded and done with. We won't really call it right now, but it's not looking pretty, right? It's not looking pretty. These last two guys are COVID and reserve list guys. One is Damian Williams from the Bears, right? He was on my stardoms, and then of course he goes on the COVID list, leaving it open for Khalil Herbert to go off, right? Who? Khalil Herbert. Look him up. He dominated last week. I don't think he's going to dominate this week, but he dominated last week. Damian Williams on the COVID list. The last guy, and this was the guy we were talking about earlier, is Dallas Goedert, right? He was on the COVID list last week. Hopefully he can get off the COVID list for this week's game against the Raiders, because he's the only tight end there, and he's going to be the benefactor of all this tight end love that I think Jalen wants to give him, right? So I think Dallas Goedert, if he can get off the COVID list, definitely is a starter this week. But Dallas Goedert is on the COVID list as of now. And that is all I have for you guys on this week's injury report. Alrighty, that will do it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you guys are enjoying the content. We are 20 episodes in, right? 20 episodes in. I want to thank you guys for keeping me motivated to keep just producing these episodes. Keep wanting to just give you guys this knowledge. Keep dropping this knowledge, because that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing all season long, right? I'm always dropping the knowledge, right? It's just right there. You just pick up, right? Shove it in that brain of yours, shake it around, and boom. Better fantasy player, better football, knowledgeable human being, right? Because if you're not growing, you are dying, right? So if you like this video, please smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and then just tap on that bell notification. That way, anytime a new video drops, and they drop every Tuesday and Friday, you're right there, right? You're right there to consume the content, right there, because that's what we're doing, right? Like I said, we're always dropping the knowledge. It's right there for you to get, to consume, and just become a better fantasy player, better knowledgeable human being, right? So smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and then just tap on that bell notification. That way you can always stay up to date, right? Follow us on Twitter at FantasyTime2021. Follow us on Facebook at The Fantasy Guy 2021. And then follow us on YouTube at FantasyTime2021. Link down below will be the Google Sheets, right? The Google Sheets that I keep telling you guys all about every single episode. They will be down there, right? The Google Sheets have the start them, sit them, and get rid of them. All the info that we covered today, I'm putting on the Google Sheets. It's right there for you guys. So that way you guys can click on it and see it right in your face. Right? If you guys want to watch back the video, that's fine. I won't take it personally. It's right there for you. I made the Google Sheets for you, right? You want to see the fantasy leaders, right? The projected leaders for ESPN and Yahoo, myself, and then last week's. Guess what? That Google Sheets is being up to date, right? I update both Google Sheets. Everything's on there, right? Injury reports on there. Current MVP leaders are on there. Possible drops. Get rid of them. All the information that I'm covering in these episodes is on that Google Sheets. So use those Google Sheets to your advantage. I made them for you guys, right? So smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Tap on that bell notification. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means the world to me, and I super appreciate it. You guys know what it is. This has been episode number 20, baby. I am your host, Jacob Cutler, the Fantasy Guy. This has been Fantasy Time, and until next time, Jacob Cutler is out.